All right, so welcome to Module 3, Mastery in Synthesis. So, in Mastery in Synthesis, we're really diving into mastering. We're going to put air quotes around mastery, lucid dream, because no one's really a master. And synthesis, we're going to talk about how to imply or use lucid dreams in order to interact with QART to get the end result, right? And it gets a little crazy, I'll tell you that. So, in the mastery, we're first going to talk about something we talked about last module a little bit, dream manipulation and mastery. So, um, using those portals. So we're going to go back to using those portals. So in a dream, lucid dream experience, you can use these portals to transform the dream experience. Um, and you can also talk about clarity and in these experiences too. So um, a verbal command that a lot of people use is like clarity now, right? And so sometimes the dream experience, even a lucid dream experience, can be very hazy. We talked about like more real than real experience in lucid dreams. And a more real than real experience does not necessarily mean that the visuals of the dream experience is more real than real. Okay, or
Right.
the quality of the experience itself is more real than real. It's like the awareness of the dream experience is more real than real. So I've had
Right.
lucid dream experiences where I'm in a video game almost environment and everything is pixelated. So like the graphics are really bad and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm stuck in like Minecraft, and it's almost uncomfortable because the graphics are so bad. Well, if I can use my voice and my intention, I could say, like clarity now or uh, some type of portal experience or something like that to transition into a higher level of visual experience that maybe is more comfortable, right? Um, the the explanation as to why maybe something would be pixelated or something like that. Um, in that instance, I was interacting with somebody that I interact with online, right? So the way I interact with those people is through a computer. It oftentimes is
Mm-hmm.
pixelated, and so my mind is saying, "Oh, that's how you interact with that person, so that's what you get, right?"
This is how you. This is how you're going to dream about them. That
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So to me, as a lucid dreamer, it's uncomfortable because I'm aware that this is not how reality normally looks to me, and now I'm pixelated and it's not working the way I want, right? It's uncomfortable. So um, in the dream experience, I'm just kind of uncomfortable the whole entire time versus like even having the awareness that maybe I could shift this environment to a different version of visual format. Um, and you can see some of that in like as we talked previously about the white dream experience that the Buddhist dream yoga or the
The
Tibetan
yoga.
yeah the
Hmm.
Tibetan dream yoga people are trying to get to is this white dream experience which is actually beyond visual, right? Because they realize that the illusion of having a visual dream experience is actually not it, like it's beyond that. It's beyond the emotion, it's beyond the visual, it's beyond anything you can comprehend with the senses. It's this thing, right? That is beyond. And that's what they're trying to get to is like they realize that like these layers are just kind of meaningless almost, But they're not in the sense that we can learn about ourselves, right? It's all
Right.
about what you want. Um, character dynamics. We talked about that a little bit. Is like learn um, to engage with the dream characters, and communicate with them. Um, a lot of times people encounter they call visitations, especially in like hypnagogic states, so like in between dream states. So hypnagogia, we'll go into that for a second, um, is a between state of dreaming between waking and dreaming. So you could be in your bed and you may feel sleep paralysis or something like that, which is like introducing you into a dream state. You may not even experience sleep paralysis, but you feel like you're awake. You may actually be awake, but you visually or auditorily or sensationally experience a dream experience, right? So it's tactile, it's emotional, it's all the dream, but it's in waking reality. So um, psychedelic experiences are very similar to that. Um, an example is like augmented VR. Really, it's like you put these VR glasses on and everything overlays, what it really looks like. And now you're like, wow, that's really cool. But in a dream, it's not sometimes, wow, it's really cool. It's like, what is going on? Like this person's in my house and they're not supposed to be here. Um,
Right.
so that can be very awkward and also confusing and sometimes terrifying, depending on your emotional state. So um, when you see that in your waking state, in your bed or whatever, you can engage with them in different ways, right? And um, for me, it's best that I engage with them in the sense of that they have their own personality and they are the way they are. But just like I shared with the zombie kind of experience, it's like a way to learn, a way to engage, things like that. Um, I will tell you that a lot of like demonic encounters and things like that occur in hypnagogia. So if you read about those in old um, religious texts and things like that, that's typically where people are engaging that, and you'll find signs and that associate those religious experiences to that. Primarily, they can't move. They talk about that sometimes, or they hear sounds of like we talked about, like the trains or booming or trumpets or chiming, um, a bunch of other things like that. So, um, you know, not to get into like what too deep into what I think is occurring, but I take the experience as real as anything else. So when I
Oh
see
yeah.
like a demon experience in my dreams, I take that as I don't say, "Oh, well that's not real," because it is as real as it is to me, right? So I take it as a real
Hmm.
experience and I say, "Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't have control over me, so what does it want? Like let's have a conversation here. You know, that's just how
Right.
I deal with it. But everyone will deal with that differently, and that's the art of lucid dreaming, right? So, um,
Hmm.
and then we go into dream meditation. So some people are really into dream meditation. They get into a dream and they like cross their legs and they do the whole om, and chanting and stuff. I've tried that. To me, it almost is meaningless. It's just like, okay. It's like, all right. Um, it just doesn't do anything for me. It it's just not where I go. But some people, really can get deep in that space. They get into a liminal state, which is like they get into the voided state of a dream. So a typical transition phase, if you're conscious of it or you recognize it in the state, will be that you're awake, relaxed. Uh, you may have the paralysis or the vibrations, and then once you transition, you'll be into a void state, and that's like a black void state, and it feels very freeing. There's nothing there. It's essentially nothing. Maybe some light, I guess, but it's black void light state, and in that you may feel a sense of freedom and ability to like meditate and deepen your awareness into that state because there's no real visuals or anything like that. It's very calming for a lot of people. And that's a great place to be if you're going to not engage with emotions because there's no real emotion there. There's no image. It's just you're kind of floating in space, right? Very freeing and very positive type experience. And that's a great place to do um, some type of meditation. But then we're getting into the real the real thing that I wanted to get into this whole entire time, which is introducing QART goals into the subconscious. So, um,
Gosh, if we can do it in the waking time, doing it in subconscious is like a whole nother level. Like
yeah,
that's deeper.
you
And then like
think,
bringing that out.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Let's talk about how you've included the court system into this.
So, when I was assembling QART, a little backstory. When I was assembling QART, the reason I assembled QART in the way that it came together is because of me interacting with lucid dream experiences in a certain way.
Okay.
And what was occurring to me is what I would do is first I learned to do what I call a fallback method. And the fallback method is the same as the fall forward method that the Tibetan dream yoga people were doing, or spinning, right?
Yeah.
Is that it would prolong my dream. So um, I would spin, and that would prolong my dream by spinning around, and then I would stop spinning, and the environment would be different, and then maybe the emotional baggage would be gone that I was feeling at the time, and then the dream would just keep going, and I was like, oh, cool, cool. Sometimes I'd feel like I was waking up maybe in a dream, and I'd start spinning,
Mm.
and it would keep me asleep longer even. Like you can actually control
Oh,
like the wakefulness that you
sure.
feel almost, which is kind of
Okay.
terrifying, but at the same time cool. Um, and like you can feel it. You're like, oh, I'm waking up, and then you like start spinning. You're like, oh, now I'm not awake anymore. You're
I'm
like,
I'm
okay,
asleep again.
yeah. It's like that person that just doesn't want to wake up from a coma. You're like, why are they waking up? You're like, they're just spinning.
Spinning,
Yeah.
spinning,
Like,
spinning.
I'm
Yep,
good.
yep,
Leave
yep.
me alone. Um, but then I was like, well, this falling forward thing's not working for me because like then I see the floor and that's kind of scary, And the spinning thing, like I have to keep spinning and I get dizzy and that's not really working for me. So then I was like, well, maybe if I fall backwards on my back, it'll do it, like because then I'm looking up, And so
Sure.
I'd fall on my back and then like a trust fall, like there's somebody there who's going to catch me, but nobody's going to catch me and I'd fall on my back, and then suddenly the world would bend around me and it would create a tunnel. And I was like, oh, I was like, okay, I'm in this weird tunnel thing. And I was like, I don't know what this is all about, but that's kind of cool. And then I feel this compression start building up around me. And this is kind of a long conversation, but so this tunnel will start forming around me, and I was like, and then it felt like almost uncomfortable pressure starting to build up. I was like, oh, this like I feel like I'm really deep, like boom, like and and I get scared and I kind of like break out of it, like let go of the falling, I guess. But one day I was like, I'm just gonna keep falling and see what happens, And so like the pressure would build up, and I just kept going and going and going. And then I got scared, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna keep going, see what happens. And suddenly I started seeing all these lights appear, and I was like, what is going on? And like the falling stopped, and I was like looking around my this space, and as it as everything got brighter, I realized I was in my bedroom, and I was like, what the hell? And I'm looking around, and I'm stuck in the wall of my bedroom as like a point of light, and that's the only way I can describe it. I had no arms, I had no eyes, I
Yeah.
had nothing. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything, but I was just stuck there. And I was like, what the? I was like, oh my God. I was like, hopefully I could like wake up, because like this is,
I'm
I'm
stuck.
just stuck. I can't do anything. Like I could see my bed, I could see my bedroom, but I was just stuck. And then a few moments later, I think it's hard to remember, but I woke up, and I was like, oh Jesus, I was like, that's crazy. Um, but what it did do is like, oh, okay, I can fall in this tunnel for a long time, like without any negative effect
Mm.
taking place. And so I started falling in this tunnel, and I kept doing it, and then as I fell in this tunnel, some people online were like, hey, why don't you like call out something, Like they're like, sometimes I call out words in my dreams and like um higher self, or something like that. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'll fall in this tunnel and then call it higher self, So I fall in the tunnel and I call it higher self, and then suddenly um the tunnel like shifts like directions, like almost like a wind inside the tunnel. And like the tunnel's
Mm-hmm.
like pulling me to a different direction. Like the tunnel curves and it starts curving to a different way. And then it stops. Like it just suddenly stops, and I'm like look around. I'm like, what the hell? Where am I? And but I realized I was always wherever I needed to be. You know, whatever that meant
Yeah.
that it called out. And sometimes it was like if it was an open word, it was very surprising. But I would always end up there. And so I started realizing after trying to research this for a long time is that essentially I was making like a wormhole. And this gets very like metaphysical.
Mm.
I was making a wormhole and I was compressing myself down into like a wave, right? Form my consciousness into a wave and entering a wormhole and then being transported to
Sounds like a
wherever. What's that?
sounds like a DMT trip. Sounds
Yeah.
like a DMT trip to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
so go on. You were compressing yourself into a wormhole.
Yeah. Compressing myself in the wave into the wormhole and then by the word directing the wormhole to wherever I was going. And physicists wrote about
Mm-hmm.
this, and there's YouTube videos of physicists talking about this, and they essentially want to do the same thing with spacecraft in space, but
Yep.
they say that it would take
I've watched the
they yeah, and these are real
I've watched
physicists,
YouTube video on this. Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
say that it would be an astronomical amount of power to do it because of the the spaceship's size, and I go, well, consciousness isn't a size; it's not a particle, it's a wave, right? So it has no mass to it.
I
And so essentially you could maybe do this, right?
interesting.
So,
Right.
regardless of whatever you think
Correct.
metaphysically or whatever, um, when you create, when you fall back, you're in a way going into the center of your
Mm-hmm.
symbol, right? And by calling out your symbol in QART, right? So you have your central symbol, you have your um, emotional memory wheel, right? And with the symbols, associated symbols, and it's creating the torus, right? The circle of the hole, and you're
Yeah.
going into the hole, you're going into the center, you're calling out your center, and you're pulling yourself to whatever the goal is that you're trying to achieve. And if you do that
Right.
wakingly or even in a dream state, it's still symbolically doing the same thing. It's just on a different
Right.
level. It's like,
Correct. Because it's all energy still.
right.
You're still in an energy zone,
So
whether
to
it's sub
yeah.
lucid or wake. Yep.
So to me, in using the lucid dream state to do this, it's almost like you're programming with symbols versus dealing with a bunch of the drama of the life and the gravity of life, like you're literally removing the gravity of life and able to direct yourself towards that symbol in a much more in a different way than you typically would when you're conscious and awake with it. And it's not to
Awake.
say that you can't do that when you're awake. It's just different. It's like
Mm.
a different quality to it.
Lucid's internal. Like it's internal. Like
Right.
you said, you eliminate the physical world. So that makes a lot of sense to use QART and to energize the symbol in the lucid state because then you take that symbol of power into your waking world. And
Right.
that you can use to guide with the archetypal energies even more because you've already set that intention internally. And then, yeah, that actually is even more powerful to combine it in the lucid dream if a person wants to
Yeah.
radically really, or if they can't seem to do it in the waking world, because there are just people who can't, don't understand how to tie the two or actually make the
Right.
association connection. So this is where lucid and QART could be, oh, so beneficial for somebody.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And
Okay,
uh
keep going.
and that is, a long story short, why. So I was doing the lucid court practice prior to court being a thing because I was
Right,
using because I'm primarily dream oriented. That's my whole entire background is lucid dreaming, dream focused, everything like that. I'm primarily
right.
not an extrovert. An extrovert, an introvert and extrovert is a Jungian term. An introvert means you find meaning from
Yeah,
within. An extrovert means you find meaning from without, right? I find meaning from within, but in my life, I'm slowly transitioning into more of an extrovert and finding meaning from without because, uh,
sure.
something important in this course, um, is to see that, um, waking life is, they say life is but a dream, right? Like, life is but a dream, right? And there's power in that, and saying that, in the true sense, life is dreamlike, right? It's very similar
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that, if you study metaphysics, you study physics itself, it is very likely that we all live in the mind of another being. Um, People will imply that we live in a simulation, right? And in a sense, your dreams are a simulation, right? Your dreams are a simulation of
Right.
waking reality. And the characters and the worlds that you develop inside your dreams are a simulation of waking reality. They're in your mind, right? Now, do they connect to other minds, right, that are simulating realities?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, right? But still, in the fundamental basics, it is still a simulation inside of whatever you call your mind, right? And we very well could be in a simulation of another mind, right? There's another being, right, that dreams us, right?
Yep.
And in that
Right.
mind, right, in that mind's reality, that physical reality that mind resides in, they are dreamed by other beings, right? There's another mind that dreams
Crazy.
it, and it goes all the way up and it goes all the way down. And that's why the Buddhists say like
Mm-hmm.
turtles up, turtles down, right? It's turtles all the way up, it's turtles all the way
Right.
down. It's because it's minds all the way down, it's minds all the way up. So
Right.
in that sense, waking reality, we are dream characters in somebody else's dream, right? And
Yeah.
so to have that perspective, you're like, oh, I'm in a dream. I could become lucid in a dream, right? I could be a dream character lucid in somebody else's dream, right? Just as if
Mm-hmm.
your characters in your dreams can become lucid of you, right? That you're
Right.
dreaming them and that they're in a dream and so on. And how
Right.
they and you can have desires and wants and symbols and court, right? And direct their
Right.
intentions and how that influences you and how you influence the mind that you're in and all this stuff, right?
Right.
So it's a
Absolutely.
very complex thing to think about, but at the same time, it's a it's almost comforting to see how these things relate to each other and how um, it's not about ego really at that point, right? You're like, oh, I'm actually like part of something else. I'm not the thing. I'm
Right.
not the one. Um, I'm the one for me, but not for it. Um, all that stuff really ties together to give you I think for me, a healthier perspective of like my involvement in reality, what I can kind of control in a way, I guess. I don't even like the word control
Hmm.
because it's like direct my intention, I guess, in a certain way.
Guide. You can use the word guide.
Yeah.
Guide is less controlling.
Yeah.
Guide is kind of just
And where does that even come from? The intention to set those goals, that's an important question. It's like,
yeah,
okay, where's that, like, oh, I want to do this. Well, that could be the end result of a bunch of different processes driving me to do those things, but still doesn't change the fact that that's what I want to do. So,
yeah,
um, and that's where the art comes from. It's like you're an artist.
right.
It's okay to paint the picture and not know why you're painting the picture the way it is. Like there's a great story, or not a great story, oh my God. Something that I encountered for my life. So I said that I was at a graduate program for Jungian depth psychology, and at one point they wanted to do active imagination type of artwork, right? And being who I was like, this is like bullshit, like whatever. And so they gave us a piece of paper, and there's a bunch of artistic tools around and everything, right? And I look at all the other students, and they're drawing these like very intentional pictures. You'd think they're very intentional, right? So they're like
Sure.
drawing like all these symbols and stuff and all these hard shapes and stuff and sketching it out and taking time to like figure out what they're drawing. And I was like, you know what? I was like, forget this, and I just like took chalk and I started just like going to town on this piece of paper, right? Like just like circles and rubbing my hands in it and just getting my hands dirty and everything and like just going crazy and I was doing it like kind of like an FU almost to the other students, in a way, because I was just pissed, like everyone's like trying to make like these beautiful pictures and not, it's like you guys aren't really getting it.
Mm.
And so I had this piece of paper in front of me, and so I didn't think much of it, and I put it away in a piece of paper in a book for years. Well, in another thing, so this guy next to me, he's drawing a picture, right? And it's very meticulous and all this stuff, and he's very self-centered kind of person, I guess. And and I look at his picture, and I had a business card that I had, and the business card was made from some artist that I paid to draw a picture for me. I described it to them, right? And so the
Right.
teacher wanted a business card, so I gave it to her, and it dropped off her desk and it landed on this guy's drawing. And and I look at his drawing, and he's drawing my business card essentially, like the structure of it. And
Oh,
there's
oh,
differences, and I was
weird.
like, what the hell? And he looked at my business card and he was like, what the hell? And the teacher, this is funny
Huh.
part. The teacher was giving him shit because he was drawing like a nice picture. And she was actually upset about the same thing I was upset with because he was like
Oh, yeah.
intentionally trying to make his picture all nice and stuff. And she's like, "You're not doing it right," all this stuff. And I looked at the business card and I
Mm.
looked at his picture and I was like, "This dude is drawing my business card without even looking at it. He didn't even know what like my
How
business card
weird.
looked like." Yeah, I was like, "What the hell?" And he looked at my business card and was like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "But," and the teacher was like giving him crap and I was like, "Hey, like," and I was giving him crap too, like through just scribbling
Right.
my circles. And I was like, "What the like?" I was just blown away. And I tried to we both tried to explain it to the teacher and she didn't get it. Like I was just like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And then
That's weird.
yeah. So then years later, I pull out my piece of paper that I just drew scribbles of, right? And
Yeah.
I see with my eyes closed that picture without I see that with my eyes
Oh,
closed.
weird.
I see that exact same picture with my eyes closed today. So if I close my eyes
Huh.
and I'm in a deep meditative state, I'll see that same picture. And I go,
Mm.
I was drawing my unconscious into that picture without knowing about it. And I
Oh,
thought I was
abs
just drawing
right.
nonsense. You know what I'm saying?
Because you were pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But I
That's
drew
awesome.
what I saw, just like he did.
That's cool. That's interesting.
Art just comes out of us, you know, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yep.
No matter how we try,
Nope.
we're still drawing art. So the point I think of that whole
It's because
story
how we
is,
makes it's how it makes sense.
yeah, the point is that even if we have an intention and it's not, you know, the we can sit there and debate the intention and the symbol and all that stuff and the dream and all this stuff. It is what it's supposed to be, you know, and recognizing that I think is important somehow in all this. Not a great answer
Yep.
to it all, but I think becoming more aware is a big piece of this whole puzzle. You know, it's like, and
Oh,
lucidity,
absolutely.
you know, like becoming a lucid dreamer and extending lucidity into the dream experience and being able to engage with the unconscious and those experiences is a profound step towards becoming more aware of who you really truly are, and um,
Oh yeah.
and that, you know, hopefully people that take this course and listen to this conversation will get. Um, and so using, you know, lucid dreaming with QART, I think is a very powerful thing. Like it's a very impactful and a powerful tool that we can do, and that we can use. And you know, and I would say with a word of caution, you know, be careful what you put in there, you know, be careful what you put as your primary symbol, the thing you call out, you know, and the intention behind that, because you know, you actually may get what you want, you know, uh, and that truly has some power behind it. So take that as you may, but let's go over some questions here. Um, a lot of these things we've answered already, but um, you know, are there any advanced resources and techniques to further explore after completing this module? And yes, there is. We've talked about some guides, possibly guides on using supplements, additional techniques, and things like that for lucid dreaming, and those will be shared at the end of the module, so you can get those in the resources section. Again, if you like find something that is useful for you, that you found helpful for you, please share with the rest of the community in the discussion or the resources. And also feel free to engage with us on the weekly discussions, as well as if you want that one-on-one, hit us up on the one-on-one option too. So hopefully this was an enjoyable uh, course for you. If you have any feedback or anything like that, you can fill out the end of the course, and we'll take that feedback and try to make improvements for you. And if you want any more information or whatever about lucid dreaming and how, you know, it can improve your life or anything, feel free to reach out to the Apollo community, and we'll be there to help you out. So it's been great to spend this time with you. I love lucid dreaming. It's been the guide in my life. I wrote a book on it, um, you know, and I actively have talked to people for thousands of hours about lucid dreamings or dreams because I just love it. Um, and it's something that once you have that first experience of, it will completely change your life. I think you'll never see dreams as a waste of time. I'll tell you that, because they're just so profound and full of enjoyment. So um, yeah, I hope you get something from this course and are able to have your first lucid dream if that's something you want to do, or engage with it in a deeper level than you've had before. So Anyways, thanks and
Oh, I'm gonna go start lucid dreaming.
yeah, yeah, and we'll talk more about um, alternative techniques or any struggles you have or anything like that, and further on as we go. So, all right, well, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.